Hello and welcome to Beyond the Buzzer. I am your host, Landon Potvin. Today, Chris Spar joins us again. Cam is not able to join us today. I'm going to ask you, Chris, how are you doing today? It's 11 in the morning. I just woke up 20 minutes ago. What about you?
And I'm doing good. There's work going on outside my house, so I was up at 8 a.m. But I am still here, ready to go, mildly infuriated. Let's get it.
Yep, I'm pretty good too. Thanks for asking, Chris. So we're going to kick it right into Chris. What is your number 10?
Oh, wow. We're skipping all of the everything. I mean, I guess they know what we're doing since they read the video description. But my number 10 best player to never win a championship. Absolutely no foreplay involved in that introduction, Landon. But Carmelo Anthony, the 10-time All-Stars, 6-time All-NBA, and 1-time scoring champ, is the only Hall of Famer or non-Hall of Famer on my list because he is still playing.
Wow.
Everyone else on my list is in the Hall of Fame. Most of them are also MVPs, but that's not important. Carmelo Anthony is my number 10 best player to never win a championship. Uber talented, nightmare for defenses, and one of the most unguardable players to ever step on a court.
Don't forget, he's a nightmare on defense as well.
Wow.
That was a good one. There's some foreplay.
Calling out those late Knicks years.
All right, I'll give you my number 10 here. He's another Knick. Might be a little low on your list, but I got Patrick Ewing. You know, the center for the Knicks during the 90s was really good. My list, you're not going to like it. You are not going to like it at all.
No kidding. You're opening with me not liking. I already don't like your list. I am already, just completely thrown off from anything that you want to say for the rest of it because it's all disorganized and out of order for me already. You have one of the best Knicks to ever play, arguably the best Knick to ever play at 10.
There's 31 other teams, Chris. There's a lot of other players on this list.
31 other teams? There's only 30 teams in the NBA.
I'm talking about there's the ABA. I'm just kidding. You got me. You caught me slipping. Got me slipping there, Chris. All right, I'm just going to jump right into my number 9. I know you got Patrick Ewing on your list later. I don't want to argue right now.
Fine.
I'm going to give you my number 9. George Gervin with the Spurs, 1 year with the Bulls, a lot of years with the ABA. When we did our division with the Spurs, you had zero clue who the Iceman was. He's a very underrated scorer.
I'm on my list.
When we talk about greatest scorers of all time, we talk LeBron, Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron again because it's LeBron. But we do miss out on some of the greats from the 70s. Why don't we talk about Will? Maybe it's because his numbers were botched because of his lack of championships. Elgin Baylor should be on that list too. And the Iceman, George Gervin, he was averaging 30 points a game multiple times, 4-time scoring champ. And his last year in the ABA, he was going for a scoring champ. But David Thompson scored 71 points in a game to top the most points in the game. George Gervin went out and scored 63 points and a half and then didn't play the third and fourth quarter. So he ended up winning his another scoring champ in the ABA. So that's all I got for my number 9. Unfortunately, the reason he never won a championship is because the Spurs were an ABA team, and when an ABA team comes in the NBA, there's the chances of them being good are very slim, and that's why it took the Spurs a couple of years until they got the Admiral to get going. So, Chris, you're number 9, unless you have anything on the Iceman. Unless you have anything on the Iceman, I'll take your number 9.
No, I really like the Iceman. George Gervin was an incredibly talented scorer. The fact that he's under Pat Ewing is an utter travesty. But that's your opinion. That's what this show is built on. It's all opinions. It's all anything sports related is built on, unless you bring statistics into the conversation, because That's right. No, he just barely missed my list. I happen to think Melo was a more crucial player than George Gervin, despite Gervin's rapid score. He was just insane. Regardless, so was Melo. My number 9 is Reggie Miller, the Nick killer. I love Reggie Miller. He is oftentimes a tad overrated. He's only a 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA selection. He's a Hall of Famer, but he does not have a championship. That's why he's on this list. That's why I like him. Great three-point shooter before his time, too. He was shooting threes before it was cool, before Curry made it cool, you know? Right. He was that guy. And he just never got there. Because he had to play against Michael Jordan.
I feel anybody in the 90s really got screwed over. All these players played in the 90s. Their prime was in their 90s. I'll back you up with your Reggie Miller. The guy had 5 great years. And aside from those 5 years, who is he? I don't think he had it.
He was just a really good scorer.
Mm-hmm.
Averaged like 19 points a season for most of his career. He was just a great 3-point shooter. The reason he's considered so great is because he was before his time. He was just a better version of John Starks. At least that's how I see it. But
that's basically
him and John Starks hated each other. It made Knicks games so much fun to watch in the 90s. My dad would always tell me about it.
I watched
they would nearly break out in fist fights on the court. It was great.
And then after the game, Reggie Miller would get interviewed. Yeah, no, I wasn't provoking John Starks at all. Totally cool. So let's move on to our number 8. If you're done with your number 9.
Yeah, number 8, John Stockton. 10-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defense, 9-time assist champ, 2-time steal champ, and another Hall of Famer. But John Stockton, a lot of people probably say a little low on my list.
Yep.
I don't think so. I think that conversation with Trent was rather enlightening. He's a little overrated. A lot of his numbers are bloated. He would be under the hoop and hand it off to Karl Malone. It was horrible. It was so bloated. It reminded me of watching Russell Westbrook try and get his triple doubles. Regardless, doesn't make him any less of a player. He's still number 8. He's still ahead of Reggie Miller and Carmelo Anthony, who's far and away one of my favorite players. So yeah, is he really good? He was. Number 8 all time on any all-time list is probably good, especially if it's mine. Very exclusive place.
Yeah.
But yes, my number 8, John Stockton.
All right, Chris. I got a lot of these type of players in here. My number 8 is Russell Westbrook.
Oh wow.
This guy was a freak athlete. I got a lot of NBA.
He was like he's not in the NBA anymore.
I got a lot of current NBA players in here. Russell Westbrook, freak athlete. He's developing. He's getting great at the 3-point thing. Good at getting the basket. Those triple doubles are very intriguing to me when I was making this list. Russell Westbrook played with KD, Harden. KD was somewhat in his prime at the beginning of it. Harden was a great 6-man.
He's still in his prime, dude. He's only 31 years old.
I know. That's what I mean. He was at the beginning of his prime when he played with Russell. But my point is, Russell, they should have a ring, or at least had a chance to get a ring. 2 rings. They should have a chance to get 2 rings. They got the 3-1 blow. They blew that one in the conference finals. And then, of course, they're against the Heat that one year. So that was very unfortunate for them. But I think my list is based off of skill of the person. I mean, that's should be obvious, but like I got John Stockton on my list. The things he accomplished is phenomenal. I got my next 2 people actually, you're also going to be bamboozled and going to be like, wow, that's blasphemy. So I'm just going to give it to you right now. My number 7 is James Harden. That was a great scorer.
You keep saying was like they're not in the NBA anymore.
I do. They
still have a chance. That's the reason only one of my players isn't the Hall of Famer. Because Melo, I hate to say it, very little chance this dude's gonna win a championship in his time. I'm not putting the modern guys on my list because they still have plenty of opportunities to win championships. I have these guys on here because it's not gonna happen. I was gonna put Vince Carter on my list, but Melo beat him out.
Yeah, and that's why Russell, Harden, my next guy are still, the 8, 7, 6 because they still have that chance. But they've also had chances, Chris. They've also been there.
Is your next one Anthony Davis?
What?
Is your next one Anthony Davis?
Negative, Captain.
But you have Westbrook on this list and not Anthony Davis?
Very much true. Anthony Davis is too young to be on the list. Yeah. But yeah, I got James Harden.
29-year-old James Harden isn't too young, but 27-year-old Anthony Davis is. Come on.
Yes.
But I don't know. Because I'm sorry, I'm a little confuzzled by James Harden making this list.
The guy's a great scorer, and he's never won a championship. I think he's a great player that's never won a championship. I think he's better than Reggie Miller. I'm going to say it. He's better than Reggie Miller.
He is better than Reggie Miller.
Yeah. That's why he's on my list. Reggie Miller is not on my list.
If he retires and he still doesn't have a championship, he's going to be better. He's going to be over my number 1.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's better. In my opinion, James Harden's better than everyone on my list right now.
It's just the NBA has evolved so much since even the 2000s. So the players, there's AAU year round, there's training camps, there's so many people that are getting so smart about basketball and how to teach it that there's so many good players in the NBA. And you got people coming across seas. Like 2 of our greatest players in the NBA today are the Greek Freak from Greek, and then you got Doncic, who's from Europe. So we got so many great players coming from so many different places, and they're more durable now, and they know what they're doing mental health-wise and just physical health-wise. It's just making the NBA so much better to watch. And that's why that's my point. You got James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and my next guy, who he might be one of my favorite players in the top 5 favorite players in the NBA today. But we'll have to wait to get into him because we need to hear your number 7.
Pete Maravich, 5-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, scoring champ, a career 24.2 points per game, and a Hall of Famer, retired young. Probably wouldn't have won that chip if he didn't, but regardless. His team really was very, very okay, maybe. But just a remarkable scorer. He had 5 ridiculous years, which is kind of weird to me because in my head I'm thinking to myself he had 5 sick years, but George Gervin had 4 sick years, and he didn't make my list, and Maravich had 5 really good years, and he does make my list. I don't know. It's weird sometimes when I think about it after the fact that I'm I already put it on paper. But Pete Maravich is my number 7. I don't really have an argument here because I look at the rest of my list. My list just makes so much sense to me. I don't feel like I have to argue it to anyone.
Right.
But Pete Maravich is my number 7. Great player. I really never had that much love for him, but he definitely deserves to be at the 7th spot for me.
Pistol Pete, be honest, I just looked up a list and just made a list from those players. And Pete wasn't on that list. I don't think he would have made my list anyway, but Pistol Pete is a very good player. Again, a lot of these players are just right before their time,
Yeah.
It's just crazy how the NBA works and how these players work. Pistol Pete was so good. Same thing with the Jordan era. He was in the Bill Russell era. And if you're in...
That was 3-point line, too, dropping 24 a game. Right.
Yeah. That's pretty good. If I say so, Chris. You're number 6 now?
My number 6 is Steve Nash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, right? So Steve Nash, 8-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 5-time assist champ, 2 MVPs. 2 of them. Robbed one from Kobe, but that's fine. And he's a Hall of Famer, just like almost everyone else on this list. I don't need to make a case for him. If anything, I think he should be higher. There's no reason for him to not be on this list. He is so talented and just missed out on a Mavericks championship. I kind of feel bad, but, you know, happened. Almost won a championship. Jason Kidd was there, though. Jason Kidd got that championship, not Steve. Poor guy.
Yeah, the Foot Fairy did not make my list. Love what he did in the dunk contest with Amari Stoudemire, hitting the head off his ball, you know. No, yesterday morning I watched the Lakers versus Suns game from the 2010 Eastern Conference Final, I think it was. And wow, Steve Nash is a shifty and great player. I did not realize how great Steve Nash was. He put up a show against the Lakers with Pau Gasol, Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher is even really good. I think Derek Fisher is one of the top 15 overrated players. Or no, underrated, excuse me. Sorry, Derek Fisher. I didn't mean to offend you. I know you're watching. But Steve Nash is a great player, and if I rethunk it, he would probably most definitely 115% make this list of mine. It's very important to me to consider all my options. So I'll give you my number 6. I got Chris Paul, the point god, the shimmy, the shake, the sham god. I like Chris Paul. I just don't like what he's done winning wise. Could never make it past the second round until they got to the Rockets, until they went to the Houston Rockets and blew it. Got hurt in game 6, game 7. And they should have won that game 6, even without Chris Paul. They blew that. Then they had the chance game 7. They blew that one too. So very unfortunate. That's when they had KD too, right? That was 2018. I think it was 2018. The Warriors had KD. That was the first year of KD, and they almost beat him. So that'd been pretty cool.
Wait, are you talking about the one when Kevin Durant went down, the calf?
I think so. KD went down, and then they're winning game 6, and then they blew it. Yeah, Chris Paul, I think he's a great on-ball defender.
Regardless. Yeah, no, he will be a Hall of Famer. Chris Paul is outstanding. His defensive skills for an undersized guard is remarkable, to say the least. I think it gives him a little bit of an advantage when it comes to the steals. Got dirty dishes. Mid-range game is fire. The dude has a nasty turnaround for a 6-foot small guard.
Mm-hmm.
And he also, another one, just barely missed my list. I was going to put him there over Carmelo Anthony, and I didn't.
You're a big Melo guy, if I had to say so myself, and your wall kind of portrays that you really, really, really like the Melo yellow.
Melo's just dirt nasty. He's the best.
Hold on, before you get into yours, I got to get my number 5 after, but Chris Paul, forgot what I was going to say, but he is not he's with the Thunder now. I think the Thunder have a shot to make it to the second round, but I don't think Melo or he will get out of the second round. I lost my train of thought. So my number 5 is John Stockton. Our friend Trent Osborne and you made some good cases saying that he was overrated and just the stat guy. Well, I think you guys are wrong. Stockton leads the league in assists by not 1,000, but not 2,000, but just under 3,000 assists. Oh, and he also leads the league, or the whole NBA, in steals by 1,000. Nobody is going to catch those records for a few to couple 100,000 million trillion years. John Stockton. The only thing that I think makes him not as great as he could be, his clutch gene, his scoring ability or consistent scoring, and his on-ball defense. The reason he made all defense teams is his ability to double team, trap, get those steals. He's quick with his hands. I mean, of course, he had steals on ball too, but intercepting passes. He's good in the passing lanes. He was just your smart white basketball player in the 90s. He was not athletic at all, but he was just smart about the game. If it ain't broke, you're gonna say these stats are empty with the pick and roll, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The pick and roll worked so good for Malone and Stockton. Why stop doing it?
Well, here's the thing. They didn't. Chris Paul and Blake Griffin did it too.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing. DeAndre Jordan. Lob City was literally just pick and roll. It's why they didn't win. It's why Stockton didn't win. Yeah. Also, Stockton, I'm not saying he wasn't a great player. Guy averaged a double-double on his career. Only 13 points, but still. He's still great. I'm not taking away his greatness. It's not like I can be like, hey, I demand you take him out of the Hall of Fame. I just don't think he's as good as he's blown up to be. That being said, I'll get back to my list. I've already argued Stockton. He is my number 8, and he was on my list when we did the Northwest Division.
Yeah,
Northwest. My number 5 is Dominique Wilkins. Hard to, say that a 6'8", 215-pound shooting guard is anything less than a great player, because 9-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, and a scoring champ. Very similar stats to my favorite small forward, Carmelo Anthony. But no championships, no MVPs, nothing really exciting outside of just a monster scoring title and just ability. He was a mid-range specialist. Actually, he's very much just a Melo clone, just a little bit lighter. Dunked over people, mid-range specialist, loved hitting the post, but he was also being guarded by 6'3" little shooting guards. So it's not their fault. It's his fault for being listed as a 2 guard. Also their coach's fault for not realizing that he's a straight up matchup nightmare, and that at the time the Blazers were running a big ass lineup.
Yeah. I can agree with you to a certain extent with the Melo comparison. Dominique was not as great of a mid-range shooter. Well, at least when he was contested. And at least
in finisher. He really only hit the mid-range in the spot-up game. But the spot-up was very common for him because they gave him the space. He would just sit at the elbow if they gave it to him. Put it up.
When Melo was in his Knick days, Dominique was way more athletic throughout his entire career, whereas Melo was just when he was with the Nuggets.
Wow, don't call out Melo like that. JR was throwing lobs to him all day with the Knicks.
Yeah, but he wasn't doing like windmills while catching.
No, he wasn't doing windmills anymore, but he was still dunking. He was still an athletic beast. He was still a power forward that was pretending he could run the 3. He was a terrific.
He still does that.
He did. No, he runs the 4 with the Blazers. He subs in for Al-Farouq Amino left the Blazers. My bad. But still, Dominique Wilkins. You know what's a shame to me? I can't believe he never made an all-defensive team. That upsetted me because he was a great defender. Again, though, he was a serious mismatch. He was guarding people like Reggie Miller when he should have been guarding people like Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
But my number 4 is Allen Iverson. I think he's more deserving of that spot than anyone else. He is so exciting. Only made it to 1 championship. Probably should have made it to 2. But he and J.R. Smith got caught doing shots at a bar at halftime. So no one's to blame for that at all. 11-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 4-time scoring champ, 3-time steals champ, and the 2000-2001 MVP, and another Hall of Famer. I didn't say that for Dominique, but I should have, because we are at 5 Hall of Famers now. 6. We're at 6 Hall of Famers. We have 6 Hall of Famers on this list. But Allen Iverson, best small guard of all time. God, he was insane. 6'1", undersized, and putting up points like it was his job, because it literally was. He was getting paid for this. But yeah, MVP, averaged 32 points that season. Yeah, why not? You can do that.
Yeah,
he can get an MVP. Why not? And yeah, only made it to one championship, but
he didn't win.
Didn't win it. Found his way onto this list. Sadly enough, he totally. If there's anyone more deserving than him, it's actually Vince Carter. Vince Carter deserves a championship, but that 42-year-old just retired.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson, number 4 spot. There's no arguing with that.
I got a little bit to say on him. I did some real deep research on his crossover that I've implemented into my own game. I can't wait to try that on you when we get back to Florida, Chris. My number 4 is Karl Malone. What'd you say?
I said, if you make me fall, we're fighting.
I got Karl Malone running at number 4. Don't worry, Chris, it'll happen. He's second on time on the scoring list, all time scoring, like second behind Kareem. My feelings toward his 2 rings, I don't know. They should win. You got Karl Malone and John Stockton. You got a great coach in Jerry Sloan. But then you can say the same thing about the Bulls. I really think the Michael Jordan Pippen, the Malone and Stockton were better than Michael and Pippen. I think it goes Michael, Malone, Stockton, then Pippen. Malone's the best Jordan's the best out of the 4, and then Malone, Stockton 2 and 3, and Pippen is the 4th best out of the 4. That's how I feel. So I feel like but like you said earlier, the pick and roll, it's just, you're not going to win a championship like that. That's just teams are going to catch on to that.
They were one-dimensional.
Yeah.
They had no chance. You have arguably the greatest scorer of all time in Michael Jordan, who can adapt to any situation. He had a fade. He could go over you. He could literally jump over John Stockton if he wanted to.
Yeah.
He could adapt to any situation. And then you have Scottie Pippen, who's probably one of the best defenders of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an adaptable team. Pair that with one of the greatest coaches in sports history. Yeah. And the pick and roll really kind of loses its style. Because you're just not going to – they're going to catch on. I can't believe they made it. Dude, I can't believe they made it to championships doing this thing.
The only thing that was stopping the Jazz is the clutch gene. Malone didn't have it. Neither did Stockton, unfortunately. And Malone himself, since we're on Malone, not Stockton, Malone had plenty of opportunities to win. They could, before the 96-97 finals, they couldn't even get out of the first round. And then he even ring chased to the Lakers with that awesome team. It was Malone, Peyton, Kobe, and Shaq. And they were the complete overdogs against the Pistons. And they blew that. Kobe and Shaq's arguing is what cost that championship there for Malone. But Karl Malone, his low block count, he made 4. He was a 4-time all-defensive team. But I don't feel like Malone was that great of a defender, unfortunately. He never averaged more than 1 block a game, but twice. And as Trent mentioned, he's 14th all-time in the steals category, which is kind of weird, like he said. But Malone made most of his points, had a reliable mid-range, and the fast break opportunities and the pick and roll is where he made his money. And
really weird that
one more stat,
and just kind of roasted him. But
Oldest MVP of all time.
Hey, good for him.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I'll give you my number 3 now. I got Allen Iverson is my number 3. You pretty much said it all. His crossover, I love it. It's filthy. He was only 6'0", and the guy was super freakishly athletic, did so many things with his body. He'd fall all the time, get right back up. His crossover, his knee would touch the ground, keep the ball low to his legs, and he'd just sell it so good with the way his body was turned and where his feet were placed, and how long he held the ball in his left hand when he was doing his little oof.
Well, yeah, they really had to adjust carry calls because of him. But,
yes, they did, because well, they're not going to call that on the streets when me and you were playing, but
yeah, the mean streets of Winter Park.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is Patrick Ewing, one of the greatest centers of all time, and for some reason you're number 10. I don't know how he's behind Allen Iverson on your list, or pretty much anyone else for that matter. I really don't know how he's so low.
Sure. Yep.
It's horrendous. 11-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, and a 3-time All-Defensive selection, and a Hall of Famer. That's another one. Chalk it up. We have another Hall of Famer on my list, Pat Ewing. He tragically lost to Hakeem Olajuwon. It's terrible, but it happened. It was really his only chance at a ring, I think. But I don't know. I'm really not a historian on his championship attempts. I just know that his greatness is very nearly unmatched when it comes to Knicks' legacy. So he's my number 3. I can't fathom how he's so low on your list. I'm having a hard time imagining why he's behind Russell Westbrook. James Harden makes sense, but Russell Westbrook, man.
I forget when this shot was. I can't remember if it was to win the finals or win the Eastern Conference Finals.
Was it the layup that rolled off the rim?
Yeah.
That was during the finals. They were against the Rockets.
That is right there. That is why he is not that high on my list. Number 10.
Oh, because he missed one layup? Oh, my bad. He only single-handedly carried the Knicks through the playoffs.
If
he missed a layup.
That's a championship, right? Chris, that's a championship right there.
Nah, I don't think it was to win.
That was to go in overtime.
Oh, well. Maybe Allen Houston should have hit a 3 that game. Sorry that the whole game rested on his shoulders. It's not like there were 4 other people on the court. Allen Houston was horrendous. John Starks actually played pretty well. But since he missed that layup after probably...
Do you know how open he was?
Not very. Do you see him?
He was drooling.
He had the team around him. He had the entire Rockets team around him. He slips through, goes up.
His hand above the rim. His hand was right here, Chris. His hand was right here on the rim.
Yeah, and it rolled.
Yep. That's pretty great right there. That's a championship. That he would.
Oh yeah, and you know who else? You know who else is really bad? Larry Bird. Larry Bird's also.
Listen.
Player. Yo, did you see him miss that 3 that one time?
You don't.
Yeah, they lost the championship there too.
Larry Bird has a championship.
Worst power forward of all time.
Larry Bird and Ewing, they don't have a ring. Listen to this. You didn't play basketball in high school, I don't think, but you did play lacrosse. So you might be able to relate. If you make a game-tying, game-winning goal to go in overtime, the morale of the other team or the energy of the other team is going to go down because they're going to be like, oh, we could have won the
game
game.
winners, it happens.
Right, and you feel you're so hyped, you're so happy, and if
I've also
you're gonna carry that energy in overtime and win. You're not gonna just throw that all away, which you can overtime. The Rockets will, because they're gonna be depressed that they just let up an easy game-tying bucket with 0 seconds on the clock. Ewing and the Knicks, they go into that game, they finish there and they win. First ring.
You're saying that if he hit that The Rockets team that was way better than them would have just been like, oh man, he tied it. I guess they won now.
Yep. The way you just said it is so ridiculous.
No, that's exactly what you just said. Just, shorter. No, that's exact. You just said the Rockets would have been depressed and the Knicks would have finished them off. I'm sorry. I don't think that one moment can define a player. It's not fair to the player.
It did.
Oh, so Charles Barkley choking that finals with the Suns. It's just over now.
He has a ring though.
Charles Barkley?
Yeah, doesn't he have one with Houston?
No. Charles Barkley never won a championship.
Didn't they win 95, 96?
Charles Barkley does not have a championship.
He wasn't on the team with Drexler and Hakeem?
Chuck did not win a championship.
Yeah, I know. He's on my list.
So what are we talking about?
Seeing pushing the buttons.
Well,
I need your number 2 now, Chris.
It's Chuck. 11-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 92-93 MVP, and a rebound champ. The round mound to rebound. My 8th Hall of Famer. That's it. It's Chuck. I can't argue this list because everyone's here. You can't argue championships. You can't really argue accolades because everyone's pretty much at the same level. I'm trying to think of something else to say about the guy, but it's all out there.
How about this, Chris? Charles Barkley was the most efficient non-center player ever.
Sounds like him.
His shooting percentage is 55% efficiency. The only people higher are Shaq and Kareem. That's because Shaq was so dominant in the paint with his strength and agility, and then Kareem had that unblockable, unguardable hook shot that was just so easy for him. Yeah, just a little bang, it's in. So I mean, Charles Barkley, you could say he's a lesser of a Shaq, but he earns that.
He's definitely not Shaq.
I mean, like weight-wise and strength, but Chuck is also one of the best rebounding power forwards of all time. That's all I got on the old Chuckster.
Yeah, 6'4" running power forward. Probably hard for him. Draymond does it though.
Yeah, Draymond's a little smaller though, but strength probably similar. Although they hate each other.
Draymond's taller than him.
And
3 inches.
My number 1, Chris. Elgin Baylor.
Oh, you mean the 72 champion? Yeah, that guy.
The guy that
72 champion?
The one that didn't play a damn playoff game, and they weren't going to give him a ring, but the Lakers said they should. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the 1972 NBA champion, Elgin Baylor. The one that was on the 1972 Lakers that won a championship, Elgin Baylor.
Yeah, but he wasn't actually playing.
That one who got hurt 9 games into the season, so they were like, oh, he's not on the team. What?
Right,
no,
right.
The NBA was stupid.
He scored 38 points per game one season, but was overlooked because Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points that season.
Yeah, I'm not saying. He's literally one of the greatest NBA players of all time. And you know what? He was ranked top 50 by the NBA. And you know what happened? He won a championship in 1972 with the Lakers. So.
You know what's funny? You know what's really funny? We both have opinions.
But it's not an opinion.
Elgin Baylor is my number 1, Chris. Like it or not, I don't think he deserves that ring. You obviously do. That's fine.
So if the Warriors won this season, would Klay Thompson get a ring? If the Nets won this season, would Kevin Durant get a ring?
This is the difference. Do they deserve it?
If the Lakers won this season and LeBron got hurt before the playoffs, would he get a ring?
Yeah, because he played during the regular season.
So did Elgin Baylor. He played 9 games.
He played 9 games.
So? Wait, so you're saying Klay Thompson didn't get a ring?
They made the playoffs without Elgin Baylor.
So? He was still not on the Lakers.
He's not a crucial part of that team.
He's on my number 1's Karl Malone, by the way. We already talked about him. But he already He played games. He was on the roster. He was a rostered member of the team. He was in the reserves due to injury. Reserves get rings. He has a ring. You can look it up. It got sold recently, actually, in like 2013. His ring was sold. He pawned it for like charity or something, and then the person who bought it sold it again in 2013. An Elgin Baylor Lakers ring, 1972 champion, is out there. It exists. He won a championship. He can't be a member of this list.
But he is. That's the funny thing. Chris,
God.
like I said, I don't think he deserves it. He has one, yes. I don't think he deserves it, so that's why he's on my list. He has one. I know he does. I'm going to say it for the fourth time. I don't think he deserves it. For the fourth time, you do. That's fine. That's your opinion.
That would be like...
It's great. Dominique, if you really want me to take Elgin Baylor off, Markley, you're number 1. Dominique, you're number 4. Malone's 3. Iverson, 2. You happy now? Elgin Baylor is off the list.
Honestly, no, because I don't think you're
delete it off my Google Doc. We can cut this out in editing and post. No, Baylor is not on my list anymore. Melo, you're number 5. Get in here and let's get some rings for Melo. So that's it.
I don't feel like you're sincere about this. I don't feel better.
That's the show. Beyond the Buzzer. Thanks for tuning in. Just kidding. Any final thoughts, Chris, before I, do the thing?
Elgin Baylor's an NBA champion. Like it or not, those are my final thoughts.
Doesn't deserve it. So, Chris Parr, thank you for joining us today. Love the argument there at the end. It's cool. I love yelling at you. I'm gonna have to cross you up now. I'm Landon Pavin. Thank you for watching this episode of Beyond the Buzzer.